Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at Newslist on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 1agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, live and direct.
Yeah. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Always love that Biggie one.
There's a bunch of them, you know.
I know, but that one in particular.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And you can find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. But also, so I can just kind of keep this rolling, you can also find us recording live mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show. And hit that notification button so you know when we're on live.
Believe it. All right, folks, we're going to hit the ground running this week before New York Comic Con. As we will have a little bit of news about that a little later. Actually, a couple of probably different news about that lately. But we're going to start off with Agent 70's recap of spoiler-free recap of this week's Penguin.
Yes, so this week's Penguin, while I look up the episode title, centers around more hijinks. And I say hijinks very lightly because this is some very, very heavy stuff that Oz Cobb, right? That is what the Penguin is known as in this show. Oz Cobb and his apprentice, as it were, Victor, all the hijinks they get into as the ripple effect and the dominoes continue to fall from what happens in the first 20 minutes of the very first episode of the show. Everything follows from that. And we're continuing to see what has happened since that point. This episode actually contains a great flashback into what happened to Victor and his family and how he got to this point. And it also involves an opportunity for Victor to get out of this gangster life, but without spoiling it, things don't go a certain way. And the show is going to continue on with this character in tow. Ultimately, though, what we also see here is Sophia Falcone, continue to create havoc that Oz Cobb has to deal with. Ultimately, they encounter, without spoiling things, they encounter something they may not be able to get out of right away. So that's pretty much where this episode ends. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. There's obviously a very strong Sopranos vibe, a very strong, mob movie, mob TV show vibe, because that's really what this is centered upon. I kind of wish there was a little bit more hint of a Batman running around in Gotham, but you know what? Maybe that's going to be just like for like one episode, they might actually mention something about someone in a bat costume running around. So we'll see. But I'm enjoying it. I recommend it. It's, as long as you're not like me in that you're kind of fiending for an actual penguin in the background, or like you constantly have Burgess Meredith in the back of your head when you see Oz Cobb when you see Colin Farrell in the costume, and you're just like, do the wah wah, just do it. That's in my head. I'm just like, come on, man, just give it to me once. But as long as you're not like that, you should more than enjoy this particular take on the Penguin.
You would really be tripping when or if you saw the version of Penguin from the Batman Telltale video game.
Telltale. Okay. I mean, listen. Remember, what was the Batman? What was that called? The one that was on Amazon just now?
Oh, Cape
Like,
Crusader.
the Cape Crusader. Remember
Mhm.
that version of Penguin was a
Mhm.
little trippy, but that was definitely like a flip of the script, as it were.
Or the Flipper.
Right.
um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I would imagine going back to the Batman thing though, they were probably. I wonder if that's the thing because Colin Farrell and as Penguin was in the first movie, right?
Right.
So yeah, maybe they'll touch back on that towards the end of this, since it's between this one and the next one.
Right. Right. No, that's what I suspect. I
You
suspect
know,
it's just going to happen once. And, I just hope that they don't leave us waiting too long. I also want to see a damn penguin, like an actual penguin. But
at the very least as an Easter egg, huh?
something.
Yeah, I understand. I understood, but yeah, we'll see. We shall see. So wait, it's how many episodes? Is it 6, right, altogether?
Shoot, you're asking me these
Sorry.
questions. I don't remember. I don't think it's very long.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of I remember that part, so I wasn't sure what the episode count is. Either way, um, so that's Penguin for this week. Sounds like it's still pretty decent for that. And
Right.
with that, we are going to push on to.
I was about to say, I'll add on, the reason why we're starting late tonight is because I caught an early-ish showing of My Hero Academia, You're Next, the
Oh.
anime movie. And just very quickly, one of the things I will say about this is the best part about all these My Hero movies, and I just told this to Roddykat, is that they do a very good job of dancing between the raindrops because they tell stories, and this is all from the creator, Kohei Horikoshi, right? Telling stories that are that fill in, like a certain blank or step or fill in a certain area of time, a period of time, in the anime or the anime or the manga, because it doesn't necessarily interrupt the flow of the anime, the story being told in the anime, but it adds to it. If they'll often weave it in. So I suspect maybe not this season, but in the next season, we'll see some elements of this story being woven in.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna mention that around anime thing, but I don't think we have any.
Sorry,
No, no,
my
no.
bad.
I don't think we have
I
any
jumped
My
the
Hero
gun.
news.
Right.
No, 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 no. Because I don't think I have any My Hero news in there, so it's just as well either way.
Right. And there's some great fight scenes because this is My Hero. It's very superhero based and hero villain fights. It's pretty good.
Right. Do you have Tiger and Bunny on your anime list by chance?
I do not.
Okay. It is not necessarily My Hero, but it is superhero based in a way. And that's kind of I don't want to say super mixed with the boys because it's not. It doesn't go that far, but in the sense that the heroes are sponsored by companies in that show.
Right. I see what you mean. I see the
Right.
boys tie-in.
Right, and then like the main two characters are kind of have to work together because like one's an aging hero and the other one's kind of a new popular one, and and there is an extra story going on. And the reason I wonder why I'm bringing it up now is because I had watched a couple of episodes of it recently, because I had a little bit of time. It's like, okay, I could see a little My Hero, but not really because My Hero's kind of sit around the school and not
Right.
whatever.
It's more X-Men, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely more X-Men. Before we move on, did you have any did you have any stories on the premiere of Ranma 1/2?
Yes, I do have one on
Okay.
there.
Good.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on.
So yeah, we're going to go into talking about. Well, realistically, it's going to be short because the episode was also short. Agatha All Along, season 1, episode 5, called "Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power."
Yes, it's a dark hour because we lost one of the witches that we shouldn't have lost. Well, let's just say we shouldn't have lost her first.
Power or at all, but yes. Indeed. Yeah. So the one thing I will say right off the bat is I find it funny that in a week that we do not have Rings of Power, we have the shortest episode of Agatha All Along yet, because most of the other ones have been upwards of 40 minutes, and this one's like 35 or something like that. But it's tight. It's it does its thing. It gets in and gets out. And at the end of it, a theory has probably been answered pretty heartily.
Mm-hmm.
To which I'm still kind of holding back on that one for a second, but at the same time, like, all the evidence seems to be there as to a thing in relation to a character. Well, two characters if you read between what's going on with another one of them.
Right.
But
right. What I'll say very quickly, I hold that thought very quickly, is that if WandaVision was about a journey through periods of television, this is a journey through periods of music.
Yes.
And pop culture.
Yes.
Generally, but basically music and pop culture. So if last week was the if we've gone through the 60s and 70s already, this was the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everyone attired appropriately for that, and the elements therein that was popular, or at least one or two that were popular at the time.
Oh, definitely. It was hairstyles as well.
Right. But the thing that was unexpected about it is whose trial, because I remember saying last week that it was expected to be a different person's trial than it ended up being in this particular episode. So I didn't think they'd get to this person's trial that quick. But at the same time, it's not like we only got 4 episodes left. So you gotta that corner has been turned.
Right, get halfway there. Like you said, I also expected it to be towards the end.
Mm-hmm. So where we are now with the end of that is like, okay, well, now we have this going on, because like I want to. Well, I've said enough as far as to get people's stoked up, because like I said, I know there was that one prevailing theory that had been going around, and that one seems to be still holding true. The end of this one. Outside of that, there's really not much else to say about it. I wouldn't go into actual spoilers. It was, it was good, like I said, tight, packed, and it was good for that, but it was just short.
Yeah, and it definitely wraps, as I think Roddykat is going this way. I'm not 100% sure. We didn't really have a chance to talk about it in our pre-production meeting. But if there's one thing that's, it would have been nice to have a little bit more backstory on Agatha, but it's being explained as things are going on. If you have a little bit of foreknowledge, like some of us do, or if you went into like the Ohatmu or maybe even a wiki page, you have an idea of how some of these names and characters kind of weave into Agatha Harkness's origin. It's just a matter of how they execute it now. And right now they're executing it a certain way. This week they used a particular, let's just say, board game to facilitate the storytelling.
Right. One that was popular in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yep. It's still popular now, but, at the end of the day, Roddykat is correct. When it was out, I remember. Have you ever played it?
No. I never knew anyone who was into the I knew a couple of people, but they were kind of off on their own thing, so not that enough people to were that
right.
much into
I had only ever seen it in a pile of board games at friends' houses. I never actually participated in it.
Yeah, I think I've only seen it in like game stores or whatnot. I don't think I've ever actually seen it in anybody's house now that I think about it. So probably that one person surely had one, but I'm sure they were like knee deep into that kind of stuff to be into it. So, but so yeah, that was a whole thing. And like I said, we got 4 more episodes to go, and I feel like 2 questions down, maybe 1 more to go if there was anything else to kind of to bat this on home. Like what is the end result of this is going to be, because I feel like the thing that most people have questioned about this thing may have possibly have been answered. Unless they do a swerve, which that would be really, really funny. That would be really, really funny. And if it is, hey, I'd probably be here for it. I mean, depending on what it is, anyway. So with that, folks, that is Agatha All Along. We got, we still got a couple weeks of this. We are going to go into the books of the week. And we're going to, which I guess I should have led this one a little bit more, but we're going to go into our first book, which is Transformers, number 13.
I wish he had told me that, because then I could have found, a Transformers soundbite.
Yeah, I got
you.
I got you. I got you.
Buddy. Thank you. Thank you. Transformers number 13 is written by Daniel Warren Johnson with art by Jason Howard, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Russ Wooton. So this is a tale spun out of some of the events that have happened previously in Transformers, namely Starscream getting taken out. And we find out what has happened to him since, because even though he has been taken out, we are now treated to a little bit of an origin story for the character, heretofore, at least to me, unknown. So I don't know if Roddykat was familiar with the character's origins in either the cartoon or the previous comics.
I don't remember there anything of the, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know of anything from the cartoon. Definitely, as far as I know, hasn't said anything about this. Now, this might have been something from the IDW run, because I mean, I know they kind of filled in the blanks on a lot of stuff, but I don't know if that's the case or not, because some of that stuff I hadn't finished reading.
Right. So, like I said, at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone else had touched on this particular ground of storytelling, but now Daniel Warren Johnson has decided to fill this in, and we get what was an unlikely origin for Starscream. So if you are even slightly interested in finding out about it, read this book. There are a couple of groan-inducing moments in this book, caused not just by some of the storytelling, but also by the art. Specifically, Roddykat and I both did a double take when a certain page came up, a certain panel on a page towards the end of the book came up.
The very last page, actually. Yes.
No, it's not the very. It's like next to last, or is it the very last?
Not that.
Either way,
you might be right. It might be next to last.
The point is, it's right near the end.
Right.
The point is, it's right near the end, and you're just like, oh, really? Compromise, man. I know, I get it. It's a compromise,
right?
Half measures, right? So
yeah.
So ultimately, Roddykat and I were discussing this just before the episode, and I suspect that given who deals with Starscream, let's just say who finds him,
right?
We may be dealing with a certain era of Transformers that I'm not all that familiar with, because that is after my particular after the height of my fandom. So I'd be interested to see where this goes. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about this in the news prior to this. It is a 2-part story about Starscream. I do need to check on that first thing that we were just talking about, and I just looked, and so it pretty much what we're talking about as far as the groan-inducing thing started on the second to last page, but it's more prominent on the last page, because you kind of get to see it just outright, right? But that's whatever. We do get to see a little bit more tie into the G.I. Joe side of the universe in this issue, and I guess that is fitting, given that we are not too much longer for the G.I. Joe book proper. And we will talk probably a little bit more about that in the next book that we're going to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. I can safely say, outside of that last page, which realistically art-wise was a good-looking page, is just what was on it is kind of the problem. But there was a dope-ass splash page, I think, in probably a few pages before that when we see Starscream a little bit, but we pretty much see a bunch of Autobots kind of charging, and that was a
Mhm.
pretty good splash page in itself. I would love to see that either on a shirt or a poster. So if that ever happens, but outside of that, I never get tired of seeing Soundwave beating the shit out of beating the shit out of Starscream. So, as they started off with, because just to catch people up on how he got to where he is, in case you weren't reading,
Right.
they kind of bring that back up. I'm like, yeah, that was great. Even even the one sentence that just is that starts it all off is still continues to be funny. So, but yeah, that's Transformers number 13. If you're not on this book and you're a Transformers fan, what are you doing with your life? I don't know. I mean, that's the thing you can say about this, because you may think you know, but you don't always know, as we have seen, especially in the last few issues, but just in general. Like, so, um, with that, we are going to push on to our next book, which is in the same universe, but at the end of this book's run, which is Scarlett, number 5 of 5.
Scarlett number 5 of 5 is written by Kelly Thompson, with art by Marco Ferrari, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Russ Wooton. So, folks, I was wrong. I was wrong about how this miniseries would end and where we would find our characters and whether or not a certain lead character from G.I. Joe, who is still absent from this entire Skybound run of G.I. Joe, would actually appear at the end of this miniseries or even be hinted at. And that was very interesting, is that we still have not seen a whisper of this character, I don't think. At least Roddykat might know better because he has been reading some of the other G.I. Joe books. I've only really read Scarlet. So, but I'm probably going to read the team book because there is a preview of the team book at the end of this issue.
Yes.
So when the team book comes out, I'll probably take a look at that and see how it goes. But back to this book. We get some ninja action. Scarlet, Jinx, and Storm Shadow are have found something that maybe Storm Shadow should not be so close to. Ultimately, it's like the Sword of Omens, or like something magic-y, but ninjas and magic never all that far apart. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, this is true. Oh man, some breaking news I just found. I need to put into the news section real quick. But yeah, so this book did not end the way I thought it would have either. And thinking about the character who Agent 70 is thinking about, had to. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that didn't happen as well. I'm kind of wondering if they're not, even though it wasn't already slated, with anything so far, I wonder if they're going to give them their own book sometime after the Joe book starts. So I'm kind of curious about that part, but I wasn't really expecting that character. Well, I wasn't 100% sure that character was going to show up here. It seemed likely given who's all involved. So
Right.
it would have made perfect sense if that had happened.
Right.
So
Or at least a
maybe,
hint of it, right?
right. Yeah. So it would have made perfect sense if that had happened, or like you said, a hint of it, or something. Like the way this book ended off, which I'm not gonna say it's bad because it's not bad. It's just like it felt like it left on a cliffhanger.
Right.
Because I expected, it was like, okay, I figured we were going to see this mission wrapped up, Scarlett kind of on the path of an adjacent Joe team or something, or along those lines.
Right.
Maybe special
Just
missions,
mission,
like I'm thinking. Yeah. And maybe that's coming somewhere down the lines, but that did not happen here. I didn't think about it when in the last issue, but the thing they were going after, which is the sword, if you're watching the video version of the program, and you should sometimes. I didn't think about it at the time, but I guess now I can think about the fact that, okay, now I know why the sword was so special. because it is made of the thing that the universe is based off of.
Right. The thing that all the Transformers are looking for.
Correct. And now Cobra and, and Cobra Line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the only ones still out of the loop at this point are the Joes.
Right.
So,
yeah, and at some point they're going to create the mass device with. I'm kidding.
No, you're probably right. You are probably right. Man, if a master device doesn't show up, that'll be really, really funny. That'll be really funny. But regardless, so yeah, Scarlett is still in a place embedded, as one would say. For how long, much longer, we don't know. And where that's gonna go. But it was just kind of weird the way this ended. Just stopped, But there's probably reasons for that in the greater span of the universe, in this universe, and we'll probably lean into, one of what we think we might know about what's going to happen to this character at some point, and who they end up possibly meeting. Are they going to do it in the Joe book? Who knows? It's going to be another book that comes up. Who knows? But right now, here's what we got. So, and with that, unless you got something for us, you want to?
Nope, we're good
about it. All right. Next book we go, which is Fantastic Four number 26.
Fantastic Four number 26 is written by Ryan North with art by Ivan Fiorelli, colors by Brian Reber, and letters by our favorite lettering python, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this issue highlighted another part of the family dynamic. What Ryan North has been very good about doing over the last several issues of this run is creating stories that center around not the entire family as a whole acting, and to, acting in concert to deal with something. There's plenty of that, but oftentimes he will pair them off and see how a certain group or certain pair of members of the Fantastic Family interact with each other. This issue is all about Reed and Johnny Storm, the brothers-in-law. And I didn't realize that these brothers-in-law had this particular family dynamic between them, this personality dynamic between them. It was interesting to see it play out. Mm-hmm. It was also interesting to see in the aftermath of what happens, because it's crazy hijinks, very FF though. And it's interesting to hear and see Ben and Sue, the other half of the Fantastic Four, kind of, light them up and say, get into them and say, hey, when you guys get together, all this wacky stuff happens because of X, Y, and Z play into each other's faults or foibles. Right. And it's just it was just a very interesting story to see. And I cannot help but wonder how Ryan North is going to tie all of this stuff back into the greater story.
If he does do that, because it could be one of those things like, no, we're just getting like little different dynamics between them, but they're just going to come back like they normally do, and
But they're also living on top of it. That's right. Why I think they'll bring it back at least at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So. But it's also kind of one of those things.
Like the portal to the negative zone in the Baxter building always came up at some point, right?
Yeah, that is very possible, because there's not that much stuff that has been put in.
But in Arizona, right? That's actually a point of the story. You don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters out in the farmland of Arizona.
Right. But, in time with the season, it was pretty good. I was kind of, not necessarily disappointed, but I was kind of expecting, it was like, okay, well, Reed's involved with this, and we got, the things that are going after. You would think there's going to be a little bit more ghost busting going on.
Ha!
So I kind of expect that, but it is a Reed and Johnny centric story, and being Johnny, half of the brains on this one, you get what you get.
Yeah.
So, which exactly kind of made it fun. Yeah, which kind of made it fun, because it's like, and I guess that in a way plays off of the whole thing with that what we kind of came to know with the whole Reed and Alicia thing. Because
Right.
Reed's all like this, and he's got his mind fixed because he's all analytical and scientific, and Alicia kind of brought him out of that a little bit, so he's kind of more willing to, uh, uh, um, uh, let other folks contribute as opposed to, just kind of solving it himself or whatever. Because realistically, this would have been a way shorter story if he'd have been like, you know what, I was doing, just like Reed says in the story, like I was just busy doing my thing and before this whole thing, but it ended up being a comedy of errors thanks to Johnny being involved.
Of course, I'm like, wait a second. So we need something that is constantly spewing matter. Here, this is what I'm like. What?
Right. As if Reed couldn't just make up something on his own or shunt it to some other, dead dimension or something. But no, here we go. But it made it a fun story regardless, and the explanation at the end just caps it all off. As they are trying to explain it to the rest of the family what happened, and of course the rest of the family weren't around because they had gone trick or treating, like in time for the season.
Very much on brand, right? And obviously, the solution they find is on brand for the season as well, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but I don't know if you paid attention to when the family came back into the rest of the family came back into the fold, but we had
certain cosplays.
Yes, certain costumes come up in the case. Like the one Franklin had on made sense. The one Valeria had on made total sense. But the one Ben had on. So Valeria was Doom, and Franklin was and Franklin was Spider-Man.
Oh, I gotta go back and look. I remember the Ben and Alicia's kids were the captains.
Yep. Yes,
I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun as well.
And Ben was very much. I was like, have you been watching Rings of Power, Ben?
Right, exactly, and that's what I wanted to bring up because it's like Ben was like, I was not expecting that at all.
Not at all.
And I thought the exact same thing. I was like, well, that's quite timely and interesting. So, but like I said, that's what made it fun. And I forgot who Alicia was. I think it was like Sherlock Holmes or something. But
while we move on to the next book, I'll take a look for you.
Yeah, but regardless, like I said, Ryan North and company are having fun with this booking, and it continues to be a top contender, potential Kliq of the week every time it shows up.
It's always written well.
Yes.
I cannot stress this enough. The current run under Ryan North's leadership is always written well.
Mm-hmm. And you don't really expect it. Like, you might think you know where it goes sometimes, but no, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. So.
Oh, Alicia is Indy. Oh, no. That's Sue. Sue is Indy.
Sue is Indiana Jones, yeah.
Right. Sue is Indiana Jones. Yeah, she's Alicia's probably like some kind of detective. And their dog is
Jeff
Landshark. Jeff Landshark.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, that's Franklin on the right side. I didn't even realize that was Franklin on the right side. Okay.
You know what? I had an issue with that at first. I was like, wait, is that actually Peter? No, that's not.
Yeah, what's Peter doing there, right?
Right. Because I thought about that first. I was like, no, I forgot. Franklin dyed his hair or went back to his hair. I don't know whichever one was which. I think he dyed his hair. No, he dyed his hair. But regardless, I was like, it threw me off for a second as well. So
right,
but that's Fantastic Four. If you're watching the video version, you can see the Doom variant. And there you go with that. And then there's this other one. So we're just gonna push right on into the next book, which is, speaking of, actually, Amazing Spider-Man number 59.
Amazing Spider-Man number 59 is written by Zeb Wells with pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Meniz, and again, letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. Now, if you're looking for an issue that pads a story, this is it. Because this is just one big fight scene. It does give Romita Jr. a chance to flex his muscles, his storytelling muscles, because he gets to choreograph a fight, and we get a bunch of action shots and semi-splash pages, and as I said, lots of fight choreography. But I guess you need an issue like this to show what lengths a Tombstone is willing to go to, right, to reach his particular goal here, and to what lengths Spider-Man is willing to go to stop him. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, I think you pretty much said the bulk of it right then and there. But I I appreciate this issue and the last issue for its brevity, because like Agent 70 said, it's one big fight scene, so there's not a whole lot of not too much talking in it, and it's just like the fight scene just kind of goes on and whatnot. It it ended the way I kind of expected it to. Once you read it, so like okay, it made it sound like okay, this is going to be a fight that's just going to be a knockdown drag out, and it's going to end with somebody being something's going to happen to somebody, probably not Spidey. And that kind of didn't happen here.
Right.
And it is still going to continue in the next issue, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, and I'm kind of with Agent 70 in the fact that it's probably padding to the point of you wanted to do this story, but
get to
you
60.
wanted to end
right.
exactly, to get to where a good numbered stopping point for his run. So
Right.
I'm not sure. Is the next issue the issue?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Okay, so
Yes.
there you go. Yeah. So there you go with that. I do appreciate also the way the last issue ended and the cover of this issue and the way it starts off and ends up just kind of is one continuous like, all right, we're just continuing from here like it was a cliffhanger or something in a show or a movie.
Right.
So, but that was pretty great. So, and that's probably the best you're going to hear me say anything about anything much of Zeb's run, Zeb Wells's run.
Right.
At this
All right.
point.
We're just waiting to see how it ends and,
Right.
wait to move forward.
Exactly.
Hopefully Paul gets killed.
How about to say, yeah, well, nobody was even thinking about Paul in this one, but that would be weird. It just so happened out of the blue in this last issue. Oh, that happened. Tombstone just squashed him.
I'm just waiting for it.
I don't know if we're going to get that or not, but we shall see. With that, though, we're going to move on to excuse me, the X corner of the book of the Marvel Universe with Exceptional X-Men #2.
Exceptional X-Men #2 is written by Eve L. Ewing with art by Carmen Carnero, colors by Nolan Woodard, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. This issue shows Kitty, Catherine Pryde, Kate Pryde, trying to live her life. And she just can't get into a groove because mutants just keep finding their way into her life. And obviously the post-Krakoa reality for some mutants, especially the ones who are more Morlock-like, in that they're like in My Hero Academia terms, they're heteromorphs, where they don't take on fully human exteriors. At some point, their powers, in My Hero it's quirks. In the X corner, their mutant powers change their exterior, and they become obviously mutant. So, or at least more recognizably mutant to an outside observer. And so we get a lot of that in Exceptional now. You're starting to see how Kate or Kitty's life is going to become entangled with these younger mutants, and another member of the X-Men shows up during the course of the issue, but then you kind of understand who it is because you read the first issue, but now you know that for sure this character is stepping into Kate's life in this issue,
as they tend to do with
right.
Folks around them. Kate specifically, I guess, given the whole Krakoan era anyway.
Right.
So yeah, which I guess is going to lead to, if anything else, a confrontation in the next issue, if that preview page is to be believed of
right.
Of the next issue. Well, I guess that might have been the cover. I can't remember either way. But yeah, so we do end up finding out that's like, yeah, they do find a couple of more mutants. Kate's trying to be normal, like Agent 70 said, but that's not going to happen. one of the new mutants, if you were, kind of shares a power set with Kitty.
Yeah,
So
a variation at least.
yes. And then another one is another power set that's we don't see too many of, but yes, it's one that kind of comes up. They didn't name them as their power, thankfully, this time, because I'm sure that'll be another Hellion in waiting. But then again, given who's involved with this story, who's to say if there's going to be another version of the Hellions coming up?
Right.
We don't know. But regardless, yeah. Exceptional still continues to be kind of up in the air. Like it is interesting for some of these new folks that are coming in, but like, okay,
That's always the hard part. I was telling Roddykat in our pre-production meeting that Exceptional right now I'm having a little trouble connecting with because of they have to go through the whole introducing a new status quo and new characters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It makes it difficult to keep up with. But it's only the second issue. We'll see how this first arc goes.
But it's still more intriguing than X Factor at this point.
Oh no, that is definitely true. All right.
Next up,
President Bartlett. I was about to say President Bartlett.
What's next?
Go ahead.
Phoenix #4 is our next X book.
Phoenix #4 is written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Alessandro Miracolo, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So what's funny about this, and I'm going to hand it off to Roddykat while I step away to get a tissue or something. In this comic, contrary to what Kevin Feige thinks, Captain Marvel is not the most powerful superhero in the Marvel Universe. And with that, I will hand it off. Just give me a moment. I will be right back. You can go on, Roddykat.
Yes, indeed. So we do get a cameo appearance by one Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, in this as she joins Jean in space. So the one thing you forget about, if you know anything about these two characters, is that yes, they do have prior history with each other, because Carol Danvers, early on, before a certain event happened, that Rogue is involved with, is is involved in the X corner prominently. Well, not prominently, but just enough. So, and not only that, but the nature of her powers, especially in this iteration, and everything that she's gone through, kind of makes her adept at being able to talk to Jean kind of as an equal, because like, well, you got this amazing power that has possibly gone out of control at a certain point, and you gotta kind of deal with trying to control it and stay human, as it were, whatever the case may be. So but yeah, seeing Carolyn's book just made sense. But you, like I was saying just a second ago, like you kind of forget the fact that Carol was kind of entrenched in the X corner for a good while early on.
Right. If there's one thing, I don't know if you mentioned this, and I apologize for having to step away, but I guess it's the power of the Phoenix enhancing the power of Jean Grey. But it seems like Jean Grey absolutely knew everything that happened in the pages of Thor without having told us that she read Thor.
So I had not brought that up yet, but I'm glad you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, that kind of struck me for a second. Because at first I thought, okay, did she just read his mind and grab that? Which, granted, if you were going for a no prize, that would probably be the explanation for that or something. But yeah, I was like, how did she come across this information? Like, was she dipping into Avengers databases or something? Even if Thor did actually tell that story. So, but yeah, it kind of threw me for a second. Like, she just knew him and just kind of went with it, and like, okay, well, here we go.
Like, she's the one telling us. It's not that character telling us. I was like, what?
Right. So, and obviously we know why why there was an explanation, just in case anybody was not up on this character and did not know anybody who's not reading Thor, or who have not read that part of Thor. So I get that.
And well, spoiler alert, having not watched Ragnarok.
That too. Yeah, exactly. That too. So I get that, but yeah, I kind of stumbled on that one too. Was like, wait, when did she have any exposure to this? And unless, like I said, maybe her and Thor talked or something, or she just
and how? Right. The important thing is how.
Right.
Like what do you mean? Like, when is one thing, but how is another.
Sure. I mean, like I said, the heroes talk. Maybe they did at some point, but I doubt. Who knows? I just went with at a certain point. She pulled it out of his mind and just kind of went with it and just telling the audience this or something. So, without her actually saying she did that. But that being said, we get this and like I said, her interactions with the Carol prior to this, which was cool, and getting into what we know is going to be coming. Especially with apparently the Galactic Council out there, or at least parts of the Galactic Council, still having talks and issues. At least,
misgivings. Yeah, definite misgivings about having the Phoenix running around.
Exactly, and one in particular has had a long-standing grudge against the Phoenix. So
right, and what's funny about it? Very quickly, and I don't want to dwell too much more on this book because folks should read it. It's actually not bad. It's pretty good. I feel like Infinity was so long ago when Gladiator was like, I trust all you humans, all the superheroes. Captain America saved the entire freaking universe. He led the Galactic Armada against the I forget the builders, right? Mm-hmm. And Gladiator's like, thank goodness for the Avengers and Captain America leading the Armada. Right. And then they turn around, they're like, oh, the Phoenix, well, we hate all of the Earth people.
Right. But yeah, exactly.
Right. And then that turned into that the whatchamacallit, the Phoenix 5 story and all that stuff. So
Yeah, that's always going to be kind of amusing in there. It's like, wow, they just turned. Hey. I remember when we talked about it. It was like, damn, they turned real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Once the Phoenix is involved, like, oh, we hate you guys.
Right.
I was like, thanks, Gladiator. Like, where's Captain America to be like, hey, man, don't you remember? Don't you owe me something?
Right. Just calm down here, man. Just it's all right. But the only thing, the last thing to say about this, and I guess keeping with an anime theme, is as we find out at the end of the story, Jean is Goku. So, which we kind of knew from previous stories anyway, but it is also once again spelled out here. So, that being said, like I said, the whole Carol Phoenix. Carol Jean thing was probably the best part of this because the rest of that was like, that was weird. But okay, here we go. And the little dig at Tony, that was in there, but that was cool. The next book we got that we're talking about, and we're still in the X Corner, by the way, which is a new #1. This is another one that's going to be is this book actually necessary? But it doesn't matter because it's a miniseries. Sentinels, #1 of 5.
I did read this. I did not put it on my list, so I'm going to read it off of yours.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did have that.
It's all right. No. Sentinels #1 of 5 is written by Alex Packnadell with pencils by Justin Mason, color art by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. I'll let you lead, and I'll chime in when necessary.
And actually, that was not the next book on my order sheet. I don't know where that one came from, but it's all right. So, yeah, we got this new book, Sentinels. Sentinels is a miniseries. We got this team of Sentinel-powered humans, and their first mission is to go after Omega Red. But the crux of the issue is kind of, I guess, one, getting their teamwork, basically seeing how the teamwork is, how the shape of the team is, basically getting the structure between the team and the people who are handling them. And that one lady that we've seen in Uncanny that seems to be running the prison at the old school, so it is all surrounding that whole thing. And there's a power struggle between that and of course there's a Trask in the mix, which I did not know that Trask was a mutant.
I think that came out during the Krakoa era because they do mention the whole part about him coming out of an egg.
Right. So I was like, okay, I was not aware of that, and if that actually happened in the book that we read, I damn sure don't remember it, but it probably wasn't.
Same here. I kind of I vaguely remember, but I couldn't even tell you which X book it was.
Right.
The one thing I'll add, and just a second, something that you said, is that the Sentinels miniseries serves to fill in some of the blanks about what is happening at Grey Malkin now, the former Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. That's what this issue. That's what this miniseries is for.
Mm-hmm.
Fills in the blanks because now we understand far better what's actually going on within the confines of the former school.
But well, we don't know yet because this is the first issue. But it seems like there's going to be some what's the word I'm looking for? There's dissension.
Oh yeah,
coming out of this.
yeah. They may turn into like anti-heroes or X-Men supporters down the line. That's
Right.
definitely hinted at.
Right.
But in terms of just our understanding of what's happening at the Great Malkin prison now, we have a better idea thanks to this miniseries. At least the setup and the early parts of this issue.
Right. Oh, so yeah. So that's like I said. I don't know. This is one of those ones where like I don't know what this book is supposed to be, but like it is a miniseries and it's so far has done more to set up that part, like Agent 70 said, than we have gotten in any of the other X books.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we're going to go to the actual last book that we have in common, which is also another potential click of the week for myself. Ultimates number 5.
Ultimates number 5 is written by Dennis Camp, with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So we're getting the team together, this version of the Ultimates. And what I liked about it is that this is not the character they were looking for, but maybe it was the character they needed. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat. But do you need time?
Yeah, give me 1 sec.
No worries. I'll continue and let you pick it up from there. So what I mean by that is that Tony Stark in this reality is looking to basically recreate the Avengers, and he had some hiccups where the people, the characters who where this universe's version of certain characters chose not to pick up the mantle. In this reality, I'm going to presume Clint Barton refuses to take up the bow and arrow and quiver. Instead, he basically chucks them the way Spider-Man chucked his costume into the trash. Instead, this character, who is of Native American ancestry, picks this up and starts to go on a socially conscious rampage against Roxxon. And, you got to love that Roxxon is always a bad corporation in any reality. And ultimately, no pun intended, this character takes on the mantle of Hawkeye and makes a joke about Captain America maybe taking something a little too seriously. We'll see. But with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah. So the funny thing about this version of Hawkeye is that, as I say in my notes, interestingly enough, it's an all new, all different Hawkeye, but he's got the same attitude and arsenal. And we show him, his intro is quite effective in that.
It's actually a little bit more Green Arrow if you think about it.
As much, I mean, there's
like anti-corporate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess in a way, but at the end of the day, Green Arrow was still rich. But yeah, everything you just said still stands. So yeah. But that being said, yeah, I don't know the whole thing with, because they did kind of mention the fact that, well, it was supposed to be meant for this other person not to die, and we can assume that's Clint, and for whatever happened with that.
Right.
Whether he just didn't receive the stuff or he actually did give it away or something like that, that part we don't necessarily know. But regardless, we got this character out of it, and we also get kind of some seeds of some other stuff. Like, hey, something happens in the Savage Land back in the 70s, and apparently that's a thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of digging this version of Hawkeye, which I was trying to think about the previous version of the Ultimate Hawkeye, and I know if I remember correctly, he was a little bit more rough and tumble. It was, I think there was a. I'm trying to remember. Was there like two versions? Like it was Clint, but it was another one.
I cannot
Yeah,
remember.
see, that's the thing. So regardless, it was like. So this is even different from that one, in different from.
I like the tech behind the unlimited arrows, though, that Hawkeyes, that Hawkeyes are almost always portrayed as having.
Almost right.
And I like that. But at the same time, I kind of miss the days, like I remember, like as a kid in elementary school reading Secret Wars and Hawkeye making arrows because while he was on Battle World, he had to make his own arrows.
Right, or even his miniseries, because those when because that also happened then too. Yeah, in the early days, it was like, well, he only had a couple, so you got to make do and make some, or either make some more, which has come up at times, in the past, but yeah, definitely not as much as you would think it should. So, but yeah, this dude had a full quiver, and he was no shortage of trick arrows for sure.
Well, because they were being created on the spot.
Were they though? So that part I wasn't sure about, because
that was the tech. They were being created on the spot.
Okay, so I must have missed that part then, because like I figured he just, which makes sense given the tech he's gotten, who gave it to him. So that makes total sense. But I must have missed that part where that was explained to that. So that's irrelevant to this. But like I said, it was a good intro. This is a potential click of the week for me. And going
same here. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun read.
Yeah, going into the next issue where we found out at the end of this issue who owned Roxxon and who was a part of this whole, I'm just going to call them Illuminati, for lack of a better term, for the people who are running the world, who's sending themselves in next, basically. Right. So,
and I'll just add one more thing. I'm so glad that this Ultimate Captain America is like the MCU Captain America.
Right.
Because it's just a nicer Captain America. Like we can't have jerkface Captain America because that's just not Captain America. So.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that was the thing we were talking about before the show, where it's like, yeah, they can pretty much get away with changing this version again because not that many people remember the original Ultimate version of Cap.
Right,
so
right.
They can make them a little bit more aligned with the MCU, even though despite the fact that one kind of was supposed to be also in a way. But
they adapted some of the parts of the origin, but not the personality. Personality it took from the 616.
Right.
Although and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Do you think this letter on my head stands for France? I will always stay with me, folks. Anyway.
Of course. All right, folks. That's it for all of the books that we have in common. Let's get into some rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire review time. Do you think surrender? Do you think this letter on my head stands for France? Oh my God. Anyway, rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Spin up the minigun. We don't have much left because we went through a lot of what we had in common. We had a lot of books in common.
Mm-hmm.
First up for me is Absolute Batman #1. This is the first of the Absolute books coming out of the event. We'll call it the Ultimate / Absolute DC Universe. It's written by Scott Snyder with art by Nick Dragotta, colors by Frank Martin, and letters by Clayton Cowles. Freelancing on this one. So this is our first taste of the Absolute Universe. And I liked it. It's done very well. I like some of the differences. It's just, once you get down to the heart of these stories, this is just another retelling of the Batman origin with certain things changed to adapt and make better or different stories. So once you get over some of the things that you may not agree with, it's still a good story. What it comes down to, though, this Absolute run is told, this Absolute Universe is told from the perspective of these characters don't come from where they usually came from, and the world that they're growing up in, that they're living in, is basically molded by Darkseid. That's what this is all about. So once you get to, once you have the idea that this is very different from any Batman that you thought you knew, it is kind of like a big Elseworlds. But at the end of the day, I liked it. It's fun. It's definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for me. I would actually recommend this to people because it's a number one issue, and if they're into Batman at all, they would, might take some, might have some fun reading this first issue. Next up is it's the only other book that I do not have in common with Roddykat this week. It's X-Force number 4. It's written by Jeffrey Thorne, with art by Marcus Toe, colors by Eric Arciniega, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. Yeah, this Forge-led book is interesting. There's a lot of back and forth between the members of X-Force that are telepaths and Forge, because Forge is not telling them everything. And I think that's part of the ongoing story here. We get a guest appearance by Man-Thing, and we get Nuclo, who turns into kaiju-sized Nuclo. It's kind of funny. Ultimately, though, I may not stay on this past the first arc, so we'll see. And that's it for me.
Alrighty then. So my first book, which is Johnny Quest number 3, written by Joe Casey, art by Sebastian Perez, colors by Lorenzo Scaramella, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So they are still in their future / the present, aka 2024, but it's a very different 2024 than, well, it's not that much different from 2024, regardless. But so they're still in trying to find their way back home. They need to get some stuff to fix the thing that sent them there in the first place. But of course, Dr. Zen was on their tail, is actually in front of them because they knew where they were headed. But as the quest team gets a component that they need, one of them gets attacked by a quite familiar, and I mean that in a couple of different ways, adversary who ends up getting chased by Johnny and Haji, who actually finds out who this person is, and kind of puts 2 and 2 together, but not all before Dr. Zen kind of comes down and swoops them up, for reasons, if you know anything about Johnny Quest, the cartoon, you probably know why. And this iteration of Dr. Zen is doing what they're doing, which I would not tell. But yeah, still around and kicking, still thing. This book's still kind of amusing to me because it's still kind of within the universe, but not really because of the fact that it's a time travel story and dealing with future things, not unlike the Future Quest thing that happened in DC a while back. Also, there was a Kira slide, so you can't really beat that. At least it's something I am counting as an Akira slide. So we're going along with that. Next up, though, is Space Ghost number 6, excuse me, written by David Propose, art by Jonathan Lau, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by once again Taylor Esposito. Thank you very much. So another big bad of the Space Ghost universe kind of comes into play, and I say big bad kind of loosely, but basically, if you've seen Space Ghost Coast to Coast and you're watching the video version of this, you have seen this person. But this is a more uh this is not unlike that character. This is definitely not that character. This is the villains that have shown up in Space Ghost are very much more seriously villainous than they ever have been on that show, particularly on Coast to Coast specifically, but even probably more so than the 60s cartoons. In this particular issue, we get a little bit brief backstory on Moltar, who's the big bad of this one, and there's some, and them getting a job offer for a thing, and maybe getting a little bit more on what's going on with Space Ghost and his vendetta against what's it called, Robot Core, I believe it is. But at the same time, and meanwhile, we have the whole thing where Jace, who after last issue, kind of was having some issues, was trying to basically work out some issues that he had because of what happened last issue, while everybody else was pretty much getting back to work. But that all kind of gets there's a slight resolution to that by the end of this book, which I will leave it to you all to read. But Space Ghost himself still has some issues. Never let it be said that he does not. He's still trying to work some things out, folks. Like I said, this is a more Batman-esque version of. I shouldn't say Batman, but I say Batman in a more Batman Year One as far as attitude for Space Ghost. Next up. Number one for this week, and it is Terminator #1, written by Declan. Well, there's two stories here.
It's still long, but at the end of the day, it's better to talk about it, right?
Yeah, exactly, because you just got to get the feel of it. But the first story is written by Declan Shalvey with art by Luke Sparrow and Colin Cracker or Craker. I'm hoping it's Craker possibly. I don't know. With colors by Colin Craker. And the second story is written by Sal Crivelli with art by Colin Craker, and the whole thing is being lettered by Jeff Eckleberry. So there are two stories in here. Like I just said, the first one has to do with, well, not surprisingly, some folks trying to get away from the Terminator, or a Terminator, I should say. It spans two time frames. How it goes for them, hey, you'll have to read and find out. And the second story, quote unquote, is basically a page. And as I say in my notes, is a 1-page actual run-in with a Terminator or possibly two. Now, I assume the first story is a main story that is going to blossom into something else, but it seemed like a one and done, or maybe there's more to it that's going to come out next issue that I'm not aware of. But I assume that is setting up something, or this second one is setting up something in the way this book is going to get handled. Like maybe it's going to be a series of a couple of a main story and a backstory, or they both are going to intertwine in here some kind of way. But at this point, I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, hey, it's a Terminator book. It does Terminator things, or some of Terminator things. So right. If that's something you want to be looking into, and it doesn't really follow anything that seems to be following anything that we know already, I'll put it that way. So next up, is that one. And so my last book is do the drop for this one, but that's fine. Star Wars Ewoks #1 of 4. It is written by Steve Orlando with art by Alvaro Lopez and Laura Braga, color artist Antonio Fabella, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So this one also takes place after Return of the Jedi, such as that book I talked about last week. In fact, also continues on the Forest Moon of Endor with obviously the characters of the Ewoks. I think this is set a slightly longer time after the events, or possibly around the events of that last book that I talked about, because, well, not even because. Basically, some elements of that last book are still coming into play. This, so there is that one Imperial officer who's trying to keep the Empire alive, and in this particular story, he gets an offer to get some Imperial tech retrieved from the moon of Endor, and there is a scene. There is a team put together with this one Imperial officer and a couple of bounty hunters that was around in that bounty hunters book. And apparently a scout who, as he says, barely survived Return of the Jedi. He didn't say that last part, but he basically, he barely survived his encounter with that whole situation. So, and I kind of wonder if it's that one that whose speeder went over the log and he just, tumbled over. But I don't know who's to say which one that one is. But regardless, the Ewoks are prevalent. They're after. At the beginning, Wicket is telling the story. His title of the story about what happened during that part of Return of the Jedi, with one character specifically, and apparently we get a little bit of information about that character that we probably did not know that had happened after those events. We knew it had happened at some point, but we did not know when or where that happened. And I will leave you to find that out. But it goes on to the Ewoks kind of back on their own, and not necessarily recouping, but trying to figure out how to deal with anybody else who happens to come to the planet. There's a couple of grizzled Ewoks that are in the in the mix. One of them's going by a thing, and the other one's kind of stirring things up at the village, and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. And at the end of this, some of those elements that I just mentioned are coming together, or at least going to meet up in the next issue. So we'll see how they deal with that. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Excuse me.
What do you got?
Well, my potentials are as stands as what they were. FF, of course.
Right.
Transformers is kind of in there. Surprisingly enough, Amazing almost made the cut. Kind of, and Ultimates.
Gotcha. Yeah, mine are probably Ultimates, FF, and Absolute Batman, but I'm gonna go with the number one because I was very much impressed by how much I enjoyed Absolute Batman number one. So that's gonna be my pick of my Kliq of the week this week.
Okay. Cool. I think I'm actually, as I put in recent 70s Kliq, I'm going to go with Ultimates number 5.
Nice.
Yeah, here's a variant cover. There you go. It's a good one. Yeah, I enjoyed that much, and again, like I said, it's kind of hard especially when you got a week that Fantastic Four comes out and that's continuously good. So it's kind of hard, and anything going up against it's got some, got to do something nice, got to do something special, and yeah,
right.
Ultimates worked out that way. And with that, folks, we are going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torrontés, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? I actually spoke to someone today who recommended an orange wine. Nice. Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. So place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
See how we can do this. Agatha All Along's reported budget breaks an MCU record, aka it is the least expensive.
That works.
Yeah, it is the studio's least expensive live-action series to date, significantly so, according to the Hollywood Reporter in this article. The Hollywood Reporter didn't disclose the budget, but apparently it is $40 million less than what was spent on Echo, which realistically I didn't think that was a you know that this is going to sound bad, but that show didn't seem like it had a big budget to it itself.
Fight. It's the fight choreography.
Yeah.
Stunt and fight choreography, probably.
True, but still, in relation to most of the other stuff that had more effects and whatnot to it.
Oh, I get it. I
Yeah.
definitely get it. I was just throwing that out there because I presume that's probably where the difference in budget lays.
True, and you're probably right. And there's also, I guess they compared it to She-Hulk's budget, which was $212 million. So,
Yeah, that's not fair. You're creating a CGI Hulk.
Right,
So.
Exactly. So there is that. So, but hey, that's a good thing though, because like if it is indeed I'm not going to say cheap, but if it is the least expensive show that they have and it's still pretty good, that's significant in itself. Next up.
So, according to a scooper, a new rumor has surfaced regarding Marvel's Captain America: Brave New World, and a fan favorite character could pop up in the film. And it kind of makes sense because that fan favorite character is related to the movie that's supposed to come out right after Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I see what it is, so you can kind of make, if you're even slightly familiar with the MCU, you can put two and two together with that one.
I mean, and yeah, exactly, especially since these two characters have already shared the screen enough with each other previously.
Exactly.
There you go. Next up, though, there's a rumor in the rumor mill. Sam Raimi is finalizing a deal to direct a MCU sequel, according to this article. Again, rumor, and another scooper who I will not name. This will be a direct follow-up to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which, of course, Raimi directed. So... And of course, people know his Spider-Man outings. So, this article notes that hey, there wasn't a third Doctor Strange book on the books officially announced. So, it could be a sequel to the last one, or who even knows?
Right. And so ultimately.
Exactly. Next up,
Joel Kinnaman says, quote, he would never be on a show like HBO's Peacemaker to reprise the Rick Flag Jr. role. Never. Right. And James Gunn teases Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr. Never. He'd never be there.
Of course not. Sure. Right. Wink.
But he was jokingly telling that to Screen Rant.
Right. That's what I said. Wink.
Right.
So, and I think there was a little bit more to it because of that, or something around that. But it's not really worth getting into. So, hey, guess what, folks? Remember last week when we talked about the front runners for that for John Stewart with that Lantern show? Well, they found him, and it is Aaron Pierre, the star of Netflix's Rebel Ridge, who has that part. So yeah, that mustache is still, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I know this is a picture, a headshot picture, but it's killing me. So yeah, I know I've seen a couple of people who also, I think you even also said this, that he was good in Rebel Ridge. So
Right, I haven't watched it yet, but I heard good things.
right. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we'll see what he does with it. Next up.
Elizabeth Henstridge is set to appear in a key role in Superman and Lois's final season. So apparently, Elizabeth Henstridge, who used to be on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., directed an episode of Superman and Lois in both seasons 2 and 3. And now she's going to return to the series later this fall to play a pivotal role in the show's final season. Interesting.
Simmons.
Yeah, that's nice. Good for her.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it doesn't say who she's playing, if it's that Seminole, but yeah, I saw a trailer for this, and it seemed like what they're going with is ambitious. Because it looks like they're doing the Death of Superman.
It's their final season. They're going to pull out the stops.
Right, or some variation therein from what it looked like. So
right, whatever they can pull off within budget.
Right, exactly. Hey, guess what, folks? The show that didn't necessarily need to exist has been canceled, and I'm talking about that Max Velma show. So apparently, it has been confirmed with an official statement. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, apparently that show's been on. Yeah, it started in 2023. Didn't think it would last that long, but apparently it did. Yeah, getting canceled. All right, bye. Next up.
Okay. All right, so She-Ra is getting a live action series, and it has quote unquote nabbed a surprising screenwriter. So let's see here. Who is that? Oh, it's not in the blurb you picked. All right, I gotta open it. Oh, let's see. Scrolling. Where are we scrolling? Did I pass it? Come on. They buried the lead.
Second paragraph.
Heidi Schreck, not an ogre, will both write and executive produce the upcoming show. If you're unfamiliar with Schreck's past works, she previously had a hand in creating series such as Billions and Nurse Jackie. Okay.
And also not to be confused with Max Schreck from the Batman movies.
Gotcha.
It's the same spelling, which is funny. And I'm not,
Well, not as not the ogre spelling. Let's put it that way.
No. I'm talking about from the Batman movies, not.
Oh no, that I know. I know. But yeah, I just wanted to say not the ogre spelling.
Correct. So that's cool. I mean, I don't think I've seen enough of either of those shows to know, what the deal is with them. But sure. But the fact that there's a She-Ra live action series coming up, that was probably not needed. And also the fact that Agent 70 knew any part of the She-Ra theme song is a surprise to me.
That's all I know.
Well, hey, that's enough. So next
that's
up,
all I know. I'm willing to bet I probably sat next to my sister watching it growing up, because that's all I remember.
Right, there's no justification needed here, but yeah, that's fine. Next up, though, Universal Pictures is turning a classic Sega game into a movie. Another one. Let me rephrase that, because we already know that the Yakuza show is coming. Apparently, they're going to make a Shinobi movie, and apparently the film has a director, and I think this name has come up previously before in something similar. Extraction's director Sam Hargrave. So I think he's probably, this is going to be one of those things was like, well, I guess he's going to have his niche. And bringing those back like Ari Arvad or whoever else. So, or not Ari Arvad, I forget the other dude's name. Regardless, hey, that's the thing that wasn't needed that's coming. Next up.
Keanu Reeves spun out during his pro auto racing debut at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So this is actually like an amateur focused racing series, the Toyota GR Cup. So he raced along 32 other racers. He placed 25th in race 1 on Saturday and finished in 24th place in race 2 on Sunday. On Saturday, he spun out onto the grass on an exit of a turn, but he was able to re-enter the race after avoiding any collision or injury. So he was driving a number 92 car with the Berserker uh, 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 wrap on it to promote the graphic novel slash comic, which he co-wrote. And he was actually paired with another actor during the Saturday race as his teammate. So apparently, just very quickly, uh, in 2019, Keanu competed in a celebrity race during the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, where he landed in first place. So he's been slipping a little bit.
Right. But also when he spun out, he said, "Whoa,"
Whoa!
which he
Oh, there it is.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know, just put this in there because I was like, oh, that's a fun book. And as far as that person who's a teammate actor was a nice stretch that agent somebody put there, but yeah. But yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, that was neat. It's, good thing he's still having fun, getting out there doing things. Trailer for. I'm surprised no Matrix rap was on the thing, but I mean, I know there was nothing to promote, but hey, it wasn't like it was there was enough sponsorship on that, but I guess you go with the current one.
Yep.
Not that anybody would know that one above any other ones. Anyway, there's a new trailer for an Adult Swim's new animated action comedy series, Invincible Fight Girl. I believe, yeah, the official trailer is attached to this here article. Apparently, the series follows a young girl named Andy who dreams of becoming the greatest professional wrestler of all time. They assume an alias of Fight Girl, really original. Andy sets out into the bizarre and colorful wrestling world, determined to make a name for herself. Woo! You know how long she's been waiting for this?
Oh my goodness.
Which is actually kind of funny because I was playing something earlier that also made a reference to that, making a name to yourself. But anyway, so yeah, you can check out the trailer for yourself while it's still on what is being called Toonami for however long that lasts, given whatever the hell WB is doing. The series will premiere Saturday, November the 2nd at midnight, of course, during the Toonami block. New episodes will also stream Sundays on Max. So there you go. Next up, we are not in the anime zone yet, but
right. So next up, Paramount Pictures is expected to release the animated action adventure Transformers 1 on video on demand and digital platforms right around October 22nd, 2024. That's soon. The film only launched in theaters on September 20th, 2024. So this has not been announced nor confirmed. So this is oh goodness, why did I switch from that sound effect page? Because here we go.
Side story to that. Apparently, our very own PC underscore Dirt saw Transformers 1 with his kids and liked it. Apparently, so,
Right.
Interesting. So yeah, maybe I'll actually watch it now that it's
mostly good things about it.
Same, but I am still avoiding it because of my feelings on it. So I realize
it's fair of you to do that, so that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is fair, but it is not fair because, like, sometimes, like, it kind of goes back to the whole Teen Titans Go type situation. Like, yeah, the thing wasn't made for us, but it's still, it still can be a good show and stand on its own, but in this particular case, there's a slight difference to that to me. But I might change my tune, but I actually see it at some point. Anyway, next up. Looney Tunes meets Akira in a lost scene from Space Jam sequel, apparently. So yeah, I guess somebody had let's see. The concept artist for that movie had put up some stills from the movie on Instagram, and says if you're watching the video version, you can see one of the set stills there. which has Babs. I want to call her Babs, but it's Bunny. It's Lola Bunny, I guess, on the Akira bike, and Bugs, and that cat, and that cat that keeps getting chased by Pepper Le Pew and Sylvester and Daffy, and of course a cartoonized version of LeBron James. I'm assuming that is all hanging around the garage. So and that's for folks who are not watching the video version, but hey, you should check it out. But yeah, let's see. But yeah, that the concept art, and I guess whatever other stuff, the other couple of things that it did are on their Instagram page, which is attached to this article. So there you go. Next up,
we're in anime corner now.
We are.
Not on My Hero Academia story. New magical girl anime satire coming to Amazon Prime is a must-watch for fans of Sailor Moon. So this is titled Magilumiere Magical Girls Inc., a shonen-style satire of the magical girls genre that is set to capture the love of both longtime fans and newcomers alike. Okay, it's set to be released on Amazon Prime. Oh, it's already out on October 5th, 2024.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, excuse me. So apparently there was a long lost Full Metal Alchemist epilogue that confirmed Ed and Al's fate long after the series ended. Excuse me. There was an OVA entitled Kids, which was released in 2005. Following the debut of the first Full Metal Alchemist movie, Conqueror of Shambhala. Kids follows three children who look suspiciously identical to Ed, Al, and Winry as they journey through a modern-day city. They encounter Full Metal Alchemist gachapon machine, as well as a billboard advertising the Conqueror of Shambhala movie. So, and there's also other ties to the show and movie that they meet up against. Yeah. So there you go. You wrote my thing. Spoiler alert. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I don't think you were going to watch it anytime soon anyway. So next up,
Kentucky Fried Chicken is now throwing its hat into the anime ring. They've just released a new anime commercial that introduces an all-new anime version of Colonel Sanders. KFC teamed up with Genshin Impact for the ad. It drops Sanders into that world, giving the fast food chain his own universe to play in. Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't watched this yet, but that's KFC has been making some moves because there's they've done video games. I think there's been a comic book. They're doing this now, so somebody needs to stop them. Stop the Colonel at all costs.
My goodness.
But I don't know, it might be fun. Who knows? Next up, though, breaking news: Henry Cavill to star in Voltron live action Voltron movie that we were talking about.
Wow.
For Amazon. Yeah, this apparently came out earlier yesterday as of recording, or today when we started. But regardless, so the actor joins Daniel Quinn Toy, who is the newcomer, apparently, according to this article, who impressed the studio and director with his West End work opposite Tom Holland. We talked about it last week. Of course, you all know who Henry Cavill is at this point. And they even so adorably go into the what Voltron is based off of and all that kind of good mess, and a little short lineage of that franchise. So it says here that the plot for the plot details for the new version is unclear. There's a script, there are producers, and we already know how big a nerd that Henry Cavill is. But this was one expected because I know he's more of a fantasy person more than not. But hey, it'd be curious to see who he's going to play.
That's interesting. Exactly. I don't even want to think about it because I'm just curious.
Exactly. So next up,
Oh, I asked about this earlier. The
Mhm.
Ranma 1/2 remake debuts with a new English dub cast. I wouldn't know that because I didn't watch no English dub, right?
Oh boy.
So at the end of the day, Ranma 1/2 has officially made its comeback to screens with a brand new remake anime that is airing right now, and with its debut, has launched an English dub with a new cast behind it. Okay.
It's always funny how Agent 70 in his short anime lifespan has become that much of a sub snob.
You pick one way and you stick with it.
I mean, you're not wrong, but there's well, I guess I come from old school when things were not as great as they were now, but some dubs are still pretty good. I will say that.
Yeah, so Ranma 1/2 is now going to be airing its new episodes through the fall and are exclusively streaming with Netflix.
hmm yeah, and I've seen people doing the side by side of the original and this one, and um, talking about whether they like the changes or not, and out there. So I don't remember
I
watching.
watched the first episode. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think that, which is kind of funny because I haven't watched this new one, but I think the far as I've gotten with the original was like the first couple of episodes. So
hmm
I'll have to go on off of that whenever I actually watch this. So next up, though, Bleach releases anime remake for 20th anniversary. I still need to get up to Thousand Year Blood War, much less finish it. So this article is noting that Thousand Year Blood War is entering into its third part for the fall anime season and continuing whatever is going on there. It says that whatever this new thing is might not be a full anime remake, uh, much like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or the like. Um, or if it's a video that is just going to restart, just going to do a Cliff Notes version and recreate the big scenes of it or something or like. So we shall see when that happens. But yeah, Bleach is pretty good. I like Bleach. Well, those except for the part that I keep falling off at, which is the filler. But hey, I got to get past it one of these days, and that will happen. Next up,
Dragon Ball Daima is set to replace a major, I think major is overstating it here, voice actor following a controversy. So Ryota Suzuki will no longer play Yamcha in Dragon Ball Daima. Yamcha's not that big a character, folks. So
yeah, that I thought that same thing, but also I was like, well, we don't know who this voice actor is, to the Japanese folk. So
right.
figured they would.
So Tor I'm sorry. Um let's see here. Actually, that header is wrong because the actor is the controversy. So I'm going to withdraw what I said earlier because that header on this article is completely wrong.
Okay.
Controversy surrounding voice actor Toru Furuya, and the recasting is now the recast actor is now Ryota Suzuki. So that comicbook.com, you need to fix your editorial right there. You see that?
Yeah, I still do notice that. That is weird.
That's whack. That's bad. Bad work, guys.
Yeah, I need
So
to go back on that one.
right. So I mean, listen, I'm reading it off the website,
Oh, I know.
right?
Yeah, I
Reading
am
the
too.
actual article. So at
Mhm.
the end of the day, yeah, this dude Toru did some not great things. Furuya did some not great things with the female fan, and now he's backed away from it. He's surrounded by controversy, and bottom line is Yamcha is now being voiced by Ryota Suzuki. Congratulations to that guy, but Yamcha's not that big a character.
Well, I mean, you're right, but at the same time, well, no, never mind. I was about to make a justification that's not necessary because I was about to say where is this being set, but we already know the answer to that, and it's
Right.
everything you just said just stands. Because if y'all was just still around, then you know it can't be at a certain point. Which whatever. Yeah, I was expecting somebody to put the picture of Yamcha in the hole on an article such as this, and I'm pretty sure somebody probably did, just not in this article. But we're going to move along to, well, not necessarily a manga version, but we're just keeping it pushing. Dragon Ball's Goku is also getting a new Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade float. Much like Spider-Man that we talked about last week.
Right.
So, and we also brought up Goku last week in relation to. So, if you're watching the video version, you can see the new float of Goku doing the two finger salute while flying, as he tends to do. So yeah, good, cool, neat. Wonder what happened to the old float, like I said last week. Next up.
Naruto X Transformers crossover shares its first look. So why?
Yes, agreed.
So they're getting a crossover. Let's see here. Right, so we're actually getting some Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You see them if you're watching the video version. You can see.
Yeah, we're actually getting some toys. Look at that.
So there we go. And so that answers your question. Why?
Yeah, toys. You gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, as we know, the Naruto X Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is coming up very soon as well. So, because I was kind of surprised it didn't say, well, because of 40th anniversary, which a lot of these articles have been doing. That didn't happen in this particular case, even though I'm sure it probably mentions it. But let's see. Regardless, $54.99 for a nine-tailed fox and a Gamakichi giant frog transformer, if you are so inclined.
Seriously, Naruto. I have so much. I still can't make myself sit down and keep watching it.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, filler kills that one probably quicker than Bleach personally, but regardless, we are going to go into the comic book section. News.
Yeah.
It's late, folks. 4 new Spawn universe titles. Let's see. They are Cultus Noctis, Bloodletter, The Freak, and Spawn's 1977. Written by folks. The creative teams are all in here. I will not name them all. Shout out to Joseph P. Illich, though, who's writing one of the books, though. And apparently, these newly announced titles will join others. I guess I will be talking more about these ones and the other ones that was announced that I don't think we talked about that are on this article more at New York Comic Con. So, of course, announcements are coming out ahead of that. So, next up.
Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt reveal new details about Topsy McGee and the Scarab of Solomon. This is a original graphic novel that they are creating, and you can take a look at this article. This is set to come out
tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for it. I might have scrolled right past it because I was looking for it at the bottom. It might be near the top.
I'm actually not sure if it says.
No, it doesn't have it. But be on the lookout for it.
Yeah.
Topsy McGee and the Scarab of Solomon. Oh, no, it's set to release on Amazon on October 9th.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah, you're right. It's right there. Comicbook.com's new site is kind of weird.
Yeah, they're set up. Yeah. And they also need to check their editing of those headlines and subheadlines, folks.
Yeah, there is that. So some folks might know the name Yuri Lowenthal for his voice actor, or I assume Tara Platt also, but I'm not entirely sure. But their husband and wife. That part I did not know. But yeah, I know when it comes to certain anime, there are people who love Yuri Lowenthal. But also, you may know him for the next thing because he played the he played Spider-Man in those Spider-Man games for Insomniac. Um, so, and apparently this article also notes that he was also in played Spidey in Ultimate Alliance 3, Marvel's Midnight Suns, and other things. And yeah, this also mentions that the graphic novel they're doing. But basically, this next article is talking about his favorite version of Spider-Man, basically. So, and just basically talking about the Insomniac version of Spider-Man, which is kind of a different take than the comic versions and any of the other versions that he's played. So there is that, and this is an interview with him in that. If you want to check that out for yourself. Next up.
Thanks to our very own at TimDog98, Marvel's new Venom host swings onto a set of all new Venom variant covers that are teasing the identity of Marvel's all new Venom as it comes out of Venom War. So that's at TimDog98 reporting over here on comicbook.com. And Al Ewing's still going to be writing it, but the title is going to switch to a new name, All New Venom. So All New Venom #1 is going to come out in, let's see when. All New Venom #1 goes on sale December 4th, and this article has a bunch of the variant cover images. So see if there's one you like.
Yeah, and probably a new figure is probably going to come out of it.
What's that?
And probably another new figure is going to come out of it.
Exactly, and we've also talked about who the current suspects are for the identity behind the all new Venom host. There's Robbie Robertson, Madam Mask, Rick Jones, and of course Luke Cage.
Mm-hmm. So judging by that last, I don't know if this is the main cover or the well, it could very well still be, but that last cover is kind of metal. It also looks like he's got a He-Man sword.
Yeah.
So that's kind of amusing. Next up, though, X-Men #7 starts to answer questions about the team's headquarters and mission that have lingered since launch, according to this Newsarama article. So we get some unlettered pages from that issue, and that is that's in this article. We see Cyclops and Magneto kind of butting heads, as it were, judging by these pages or this first page. So we'll find out what that's about when we get to that issue. Next up.
So spoilers for last week's X-Men #3. We kind of find out what has happened to Professor X in the new era, and he's got a dark new code name. I really don't want to spoil it because you should just go and take a look at it.
Yeah, sure.
Should read it. Take a look.
But just, yeah, a matter of fact, I do need to, but that's fine. Whatever. I wouldn't have cared if it was spoiled, but other people might. So, next up, Marvel was initially worried that Samuel L. Jackson might sue them for using his likeness as Nick Fury years before he was cast as Nick Fury. So, let's see. Apparently, speaking at a panel at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, former Marvel editor Ralph Macchio, not to be confused with the actor, recalled his initial reaction to Ultimate Nick Fury. Quote, "Of course you have the Samuel L. Jackson thing. When I was working on Ultimates, I talked to Brian Hitch and said, we haven't gotten approval from Samuel L. Jackson to use his likeness." And Brian Hitch goes, "I have connections with the man. It's okay. Don't worry about it." And luckily enough, later he decided not to sue us, and he was the guy who was picked to play Nick Fury. So whose connections that Brian Hitch had for that was the case. But regardless, there's a couple other quotes in here. I feel like part of this story had been recounted previously before, but I don't remember it being told such as this. So,
You got me?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've like parts of the story because I know especially when the movie started happening and people were talking about the Ultimate version, it came up, but I don't remember if the thought of suing had come up, or whatever the case may be, or any whatever. But anyway, next up.
Marvel Comics celebrates their history of Star Wars comic book storytelling and Star Wars: A New Legacy #1. This January, they're going to mark the 10th anniversary of Marvel Comics' return to Star Wars with new stories from all-star Star Wars creators. So this is going all the way back to Star Wars back in 2015. God, 10 years ago already?
Yeah.
That was Jason Aaron and John Cassidy, Star Wars #1.
Mhm.
Rest in peace, John Cassidy.
Indeed.
Goodness gracious, that was 10 years ago as of January.
Doesn't seem that
So,
long.
yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah, you're going to get this one shot with a bunch of all-star creators. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Also, at the bottom of this, and I think we put it in last week's clickbait section, there's a Marvel Remembers John Cassidy article, because this is a Marvel article as well. So you may want to check that out. I don't know. Next up, though, Absolute Wonder Woman #1 gets 150,000 orders, and Absolute Superman is looking to get 180K, according to this article. So yeah, they have orders have gone through someone's roof. And it looks like, according to this article, Absolute Batman had sold, according to this article, well over 200,000 copies before getting closer to that 250,000 spots. I guess I'm not surprised by this, because one is a new #1 and it's a new quote unquote new universe. So yeah, I guess you shouldn't be surprised. Let's see, and that they make a comparison to Batman Hush 20 plus years ago, excuse me. So gracious. Yeah, they're in line with that. I look forward to reading all of these #1s, even if I don't continue along with them. Next up,
Just flipping through that Cassidy article.
Hmm.
DC Comics The Question gets mysterious McFarlane Platinum release. So this is McFarlane Toys release. So it's going to be quote unquote a rare figure at $22.99. It's going to be available in stores and at McFarlane Toys online event. Okay. So this is a platinum edition. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's Vic Sage. The Question, I guess, is the, I don't know if it's the first one, but yeah, I guess it's like that.
And not, it is Vic Sage.
Yeah, and not Henry Montoya. Big difference.
Yeah, but, it's the old school version.
Right. $22.99 price.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Poop. Suicide Squad Killer of the Justice League may have shot itself in the foot, according to this article, with season 3's new character. I did not know they were still putting out anything for that for that video game, so that's funny. Let's see. Apparently, let's see, they were going through the other seasonal characters that they put out in prior seasons. They talk about how many players according to this. Let's see. Victoria Freeze. Okay, that's a thing. Here we go. Season 3's character is okay. That's why the shooting in the foot. It's Zoe Lawton, Deadshot's daughter. Ha 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 ha. Operating under the name Lawless. There you go. Next up.
Alrighty. Next up, Bandai reveals its new Zaku. All right, so Netflix's new Gundam series gets a high-grade Gunpla model kit for its unique take on the Zaku, or Zaku? Is it Zaku?
Zaku.
Zaku! Yeah. Like Mbaku. All right. So the Gundam franchise received its first CGI entry in years with the upcoming Netflix series Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. In celebration of the new anime, Bandai is releasing a new Gunpla plastic model kit representing one of the show's mobile suits. The upcoming kit for the HG1/144 Zaku 2 Solari brings a Requiem for Vengeance mobile suit to life in a collectible manner. So let's look for price and release date. Doesn't say.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, basically, for those not watching the video version, it's differently cut, and you are aware of Gundams enough to know what a Zaku is. It's just differently colored, so it looks like a variant color, coloration of it. Exactly. Waiting for you to get into Gundam, or at least try out a Gundam. I don't.
I watched one. I forgot the name of it, but maybe I haven't gotten into like the longer form series. I think I did one of the shorter ones.
Well, if you got into one of the shorter ones, probably was 8th MS Team, and that was a good one to go come out with.
Right, I think that's the one I did.
Yeah, that's a good one to start off with if you have any interest in. Now, granted, a lot of the other stuff is drastically different, but still, that's a good one. Anyway, Konami Digital Entertainment announces Blue Eyes White Destiny, a new Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG structure deck, which will hit stores on February 7th, 2025. Obviously, if you know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what the big card of that is, or at least will be in it anyway. So, but the new structure deck introduces Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon, apparently a level 12 synchro monster. So it's a new version of Blue Eyes White Dragon. Great. And some other stuff and everything that comes with it. It's 50 cards, 5 rares, 3 ultra rares. 5 ultra rares, 3 super rares, 42 common, and we're retail for $11.99. So I know there are people who are still playing Yu-Gi-Oh heavily, so good on them. Next up.
Yep. Hasbro posts a product page for the next Ghostbusters HasLab, and it leaves fans with questions. So, let's see here. It's going to be unveiled in less than 2 weeks at New York Comic Con. And the URL describes the upcoming campaign as a playset. So, nobody really knows what's up with that.
Right. Which, like I said, I don't know. Given that image that we got, I guess you can infer something. Who knows? But yeah, we don't know. We'll find out next week, I guess.
Yeah, soon enough. Like less than, barely 2 weeks. It's really a week.
Right.
New York Comic Con is next week, folks. I'm going to be on the floor of the Javits next week. Crazy.
And again, like I said, we got some news on that at the end of this here thing. So, Steadicons box set, Core Dino King, 86 Optimus Prime, and more Tomy Tokara Transformers confirmed through some retailer images that have probably got hacked or leaked, or whatever the case may be. Let's see. A lot of this looks like it's going to be Japanese though, or Japanese only, I guess. Let's see. There's a Studio Series Mirage, a Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime Commander, Stunticons, like I said, Dino King Combiner, and Lockdown. I don't know why I said it like that. So we'll probably get more news on that. And they also mentioned that Knight Rider collaboration, which I think I still have a pre-order for. That's supposed to be released not next month, in December. So, yay. Next up.
MF Doom's 2004 album, Food, turns 20 in November, and it's the inspiration for a new action figure, cereal bowl, and spoon from Super 7. The set comes in a cereal box style packaging. And if you're watching video, Roddykat has it up. It's actually pretty cool looking.
Yes.
Let's see here. Price, release date. Oh, you can get it now. Get the action figure now.
Yep. Just in time for the 20th anniversary for Doom's Food album, which is also getting a reissue next month.
Right, November 15th. So the album is being reissued November 15th, but you can pre-order it right now. So if I click on pre-order, I'll be able to tell you what the pricing is here. 65 bills! The cereal bowl set and the reaction figure. $65, folks.
Less. I don't know. I was about to say.
That's expensive, but you also get a box, that looks like a cereal box with the, food grade cereal bowl, spoon, and an MF Doom figure. That's actually a good deal, I think.
It is, but unless it's coming with the album, I don't know. 65 is still a grip. I'm not saying that's not, that's not a good packaging, but I'm just saying, throw the album in there too while you're at it. But I already have it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But what also is cool, also what is not cool, apparently they're still having the gathering of the Juggalos. Good lord. MF Doom fans react to Gladiator 2 popcorn bucket.
Wait, did you say the Gigolos or the Juggalos?
Juggalos.
Oh, okay, because I swear you said gigolos, and I
said it
was
kind
like,
of fast.
wait a
So
second.
yeah.
That
Well,
means one thing.
I mean, if
and
you saw the
thing-
pictures that I just saw, you could still say
Right.
it.
I just laughed.
Much.
I laughed. I couldn't help it. I was like, wait a second. I think he means one thing, but said another, and the connotations are very different.
Yeah, but like I said, if you saw the picture on that last album, on that last article, then yeah, it could go either way. But yeah, so apparently a popcorn bucket has been announced for Gladiator 2, and it looks, as Agent 70 mentioned to me prior to this, it is in the shape of Maximus's helmet from the first Gladiator movie, but also it looks like MF Doom's iconic helmet, which was probably, well, no, I can't say that. It's styled the same way, let's put it like, because I'm not sure if Doom's been out long, might have been out as long, if not longer, than that movie. Plus, his mask was kind of styled, supposedly a stylish version of Dr. Doom's. So
yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Right.
You know, my guess is that when Doom came out and decided to wear that full time, he definitely, it's inspired by Dr. Doom, but I think also styled after the Maximus helmet too.
Right. But yeah, but Doom came out in the 90s and Gladiator came out in 2000, so I don't know. Regardless, it is what it is, because from what I've seen on Twitter, a bunch of people are going to get it because of MF Doom. And therein lies the takeaway from some of this. I'm actually almost tempted, but I'm not that tempted.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the rub.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Next up. Image Comics Skybound redacts final pages from G.I. Joe #1 review copies. So they've given out embargoed review copies of G.I. Joe #1, but they cut out the last few pages because probably Snake Eyes is there. But anyway, let's. The
fun thing is he could very well be more right than he knows, but we don't know this.
Right. We don't know yet.
Yeah, so we talked about it earlier with Scarlett, the preview pages that we did, that we saw in the back of that book, and we didn't actually talk about that book. I almost didn't read it because I was like, I just kind of want to wait for the actual book to come out and just read the whole thing. Because this was just enough of the tease to kind of make you want to know what the hell's comes after that, especially with that last panel. But because I wanted to see what he said about the Baroness. Regardless, we still got a whole another month, so it's we got some time to kill. Wait, and we probably likely are not going to get preview copies of that before it comes out, or review copies. Well, we are going to get review copies, but just probably not before. Or I don't know. Who the fuck even knows? Next up, though.
The women of G.I. Joe and Cobra battle in new first look. So this is a preview. Let's see here. Skybound has revealed a special series of connecting cover art for their new G.I. Joe series by David Nakayama, showing the women of G.I. Joe and Cobra engaged in battle. The first of the 4 covers will go on sale this November. Okay.
Yeah, and of course, what the heck happened to voice meter? All right. Anyway, last story. Comic-Con to live stream main stage panels for free through a new pact with Paragon Creative Agency. So that's cool. Let's see. So this article has a list of the panels that will be live streamed. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm trying to see if there's actually anything of pertinent interest. But I guess if you're a fan of SpongeBob SquarePants, that's probably something that you might be interested in because one of those will be that panel. Then there's yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in here in this in this list that I care that much about, but you might. Okay. Yeah, something that's well, there's one on that Creatures Commando show also, but
It gets too late.
well, not only that, but you're not coming up on Skype for some reason. But that's fine. We're just gonna keep pushing, as long as they can hear you, and we can get this over with. But that's it, folks. One last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night. We're hurrying through this. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
It's weird because I could see your picture, but OBS is being funny with it. But yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah, like I said, we're ending this thing. So we're gonna shut this down. Next week we're going to have a slight shift in the schedule because Agent 70 is going. Well, wait. Actually, let's back that up and confirm that. You do have your tickets.
Yes.
You're probably not going Thursday.
I am going Thursday, but
okay.
Just in the evening, like after work. So I don't foresee getting back too late, but let's not jinx anything.
Sure.
So we should be broadcasting normally-ish on that Thursday. I will be going in that Friday though. Right. I'll be going, to the con that Friday, and obviously the rest of the weekend. So, but Thursday is always kind of like a scouting day for me. So I do have my badge, and I'll probably go in after work on Thursday just to get the lay of the land and see how things are going.
Sure. I'm sure at some point of that weekend you'll holler at friend of the show, Matt Wang.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely see him. Definitely hopefully before Sunday, but more than likely Sunday.
Gotcha.
That seems to be our habit. But then, you never know. I'll get a random text from Wang and be like, "Hey, come here, do this."
Right.
I remember getting a notice that Walt Simonson was signing at a booth, and there was no line in front of him, and he was signing for free. So I was like, you know what, grab my stuff and go.
Indeed. So yeah, we will get Agent 70's. Well, definitely the next week we will get his full show with him and Matt Wang, his their experiences of the show next week. But we'll get a little sneak preview next Thursday of what he scouted around with.
Yep.
Then. So yeah, we're gonna call this out before anything else happens, and it's already late, so that's probably telling enough as it is. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at Newsnotes Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Excuse me. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And you can find us on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. But you can also catch us. And I'm just gonna start doing that, so that way you can only have to say it once.
Right.
But you can also catch us every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday nights when we record on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. And also make sure to hit that notification button so you know when we are broadcasting live and direct.
Yes. Hopefully, usually we try not to, start as late as we did tonight, but it was a special case.
Right. Lives, but you know what? We try to get it in so that we can, experience some of that pop culture life and get back to you with our thoughts on it.
For reals. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
And knowing is half the battle.